Welcome back. Ian was talking to you for a solid 5 minutes, not knowing you were there.
No, thanks. No, it's fine. It's fine. I was talking to you, and you were ignoring me.
It's true.
And I'm very hurt.
Wow, not even an apology.
Wow, not even.
What?
I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, I thought that was to Dan. I'm so bad at this.
Hello and welcome to episode 115 of the Game Brew podcast, the bi-weekly video game podcast where we sip delicious beers, discuss video games, and every single one of us is a filthy casual. GG's, boys.
Yes.
GG's and girls. And those of you who have yet to make up your mind. I am your host, Dan NVMe Rotz, and I'm joined today by Ian GDDR6X Richard.
That's right. I choose to never make up my mind. It will always be somewhere between a girl and a boy.
Chris Teraflops
So
writes.
when I jump into the pool, I call it a teraflop.
Fee Kudakorn Win.
The heck is Cootie That's me, I guess.
I guess it's you. I don't know what it is either. And Allison Big Navi Van de
What is the
Vender.
relation?
Fuck.
Okay.
Whoa.
Van
These
Diemen.
are all
fine.
these
It's
are all
fine.
things that are
Just say it wrong.
They're
They're all
computer
hardware.
related.
Yeah, they're all computer hardware, but why?
Yeah.
Why not?
Oh, Kuda
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
I thought Big Navi was like Navi from The Legend of Zelda, but gigantic.
Well-
So it's like,
No, that's
I would have thought that too had the others not come before. I would have thought that was the reference, but now I'm on board. But
that's great. Well, anyway, this is a podcast. And this week on the podcast, we're going to talk about, well, in the first half, we're going to talk about skill-based matchmaking and some differences that there are in there. And in the second half, we're going to kind of talk about competitive gaming and kind of where it is and where we land on it. It's going to be fun. But first, it's time for a beer. Chris, what are we drinking this week?
one of the scariest things of all, land sharks.
Oh,
I saw
do
that.
you guys
maybe.
remember that? Do you guys remember that Street Sharks?
Street sharks.
show?
Terrifying.
oh yeah.
Absolutely terrifying.
Street Sharks was the
So
best.
So good.
So good.
It was like a Ninja Turtles wannabe. It was like the knockoff version. It was Mr. Pibb of Ninja Turtles.
It was.
It was made to sell toys. That's all it was.
And
it was
sell
great.
So
toys
was
it
G.I.
did.
Joe.
Probably Transformers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, we're drinking Land Shark.
Yeah, we are. It's made by Margaritaville Brewing Company.
All right.
Yes.
AKA Anheuser-Busch.
All right.
So apparently it's the official beer of Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. So that's cool. So it's basically like it's considered an island style lager. It's basically very similar to like a Corona. So it's something you want on
it's
the
like
beach.
off-brand Corona.
I mean, I wouldn't call it off-brand. I would call it more of a copycat.
Yeah.
I don't know that this tastes as much like Corona as I want it to taste. Like Corona, you know? Like I feel like I'd just rather have a Corona.
Yeah, it's very like almost like grassy and like has a grain flavor, which I don't
think
hate.
I just think it's interesting to drink it, and like the like bright color that I look at it, I don't necessarily get that flavor from it whenever I drink it. Like whenever I drink a Corona, I kind of taste that it's lighter, but this it still tastes lagery.
Yeah, it's almost a Miller.
It's better than Miller.
It's better than Miller, but it's
Pretty
in
much
that same
anything better.
like American lager. If I were just tasting this, I would have thought it was an American lager. I wouldn't have thought to call it an island style.
But there's more to it than just like a Bud Light,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I
very
think there's a
much
little
so.
more flavor and depth to it. But
But
yeah, it's not. It definitely. I'm gonna squeeze some lime juice into it on my next one. I think.
that is a good idea.
Oh, I have that too. I'll do that on the next one. But we're gonna quick fire chuggability levels so we can move on. So Ian, chuggability level.
I mean, if you're trying to chug beers, you could probably chug a lot of these. So like 8 or 9, but I don't think chuggability is a good reference point for whether a beer is good or not.
Yeah, but that's what we measure everything on the Game Brew podcast now. Chris, chuggability level.
Super high. I mean, when you're in Margaritaville, you want super high chuggability. So super high.
Yeah, that's
8
true.
out of 10. Probably 9 out of 10 actually.
You know what? I'm going to give this a Heinz 51 for mine. So That's what I'm going to give it.
This will get
Also
you
on the
wasted
scale.
away in Margaritaville.
Yes, it's a Jimmy Buffett song. But as you heard earlier in the episode, we are joined this week
Jimmy
by
Buffett himself.
by Jimmy Buffett. Welcome, Jimmy. It's nice to meet you. I really like your Hawaiian shirt. No, we're joined by our wonderful intern Fee.
Hello.
I was here for more college credit.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Yes. So Fee, did you complete your assignment this week?
Which one?
The beer assignment?
I got a different one.
Wow,
Partial
looks like
credit.
Well,
looks like no credit.
partial
I don't
credit.
know.
Is it a summer
Professor
beer?
Allison does not give
I think you
partial
guys
credit
just
to
bought
beer.
all of the land shark and set me up so I can just stay around
That's
longer.
true.
I don't know.
That's a great conspiracy
mean-
that I would absolutely participate in. However,
I mean, it's free labor. So. But so what are you drinking? What summery beverage did you choose to
I
partake
chose Loved by the Sun by Devil's Backbone. It's
Ooh.
very, very nice, very light. It's 4.5% alcohol, so
Okay.
very chuggable. You have peachy mango vibes there,
Ooh.
so
Mm.
I dig it.
Is it a what type of beer is it?
Let me see here.
Tasty one.
Yeah, just that one, tasty one.
Tasty.
And it
Yes.
is an Anheuser-Busch product as well.
Oh,
wow.
man. What isn't an
Miller.
Anheuser-Busch? But you like it? It's good?
what's
That's
its
true.
chuggability level?
Yeah, what's the chuggability level of this delicious peachy
Very
beer?
high.
Very
Very
high.
Out of 10, I would
Okay.
10.
Oh, wow.
10.
That's, wow.
He's chugging it right now
He's-
while
he's
he's
already
talking,
on the second
which
one.
is
It's so good.
and of course we have Allison, who is who if she drank a beer it would kill her,
Yeah.
so she's drinking something different. What are you drinking this week, Allison?
I'm just drinking my lifeblood mixed with rum, which is Baja Blast. You know,
Baja Blast.
Yes.
That is a
it's
summer
summer.
drink.
That is-
It's summer.
What
Yeah.
what do you call that? What would you call that beverage? Baja Blast and rum.
I don't know, an Allison special. Honestly, it's like whenever I have Malibu rum of any kind. This is passion fruit, by the way. And it's summer, and I happen to have Baja instead of rum and Coke. I go Baja and Malibu. So I don't know.
Wow.
Maybe we just call it getting Baja blasted.
Oh, that's so much better than mine. See,
Or
thank
maybe
you.
the Baja pipeline or something like that, because it's like a wave. And it's,
Well,
'cause it's the
Mountain Dew's coming
Malibu
out with
and-
their own alcoholic beverages, so we'll see how that
Or
goes.
the Malibu pipeline. I don't know.
Oh, the Malibu blast line.
That
That's
sounds
that's explosive.
sexual. Let's move on.
Malibu
Everything.
blast line.
Allison,
I'm
everything
pretty sure
I
I've
say.
been in one or two of those.
Oh!
In Malibu?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, they do things differently on the West Coast. What has everyone been playing?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do differently. Yeah, what's everyone been playing? I'm gonna go first because I want to go fast.
Sonic.
I finished Death's Door, like I talked about last time. In fact, I even finished. I also finished the true ending of the game. So like, there's a bunch, like you beat it, and then there's a bunch of other stuff you can do to get the true ending after you beat it. Like and it was a lot of stuff. So it was very good. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And then Hannah and I played and beat a little 2-hour game called The Gardens Between
Ah,
on Xbox. It's very nice puzzle based, like 3D sort of. You move time back and forth and you have to solve puzzles. It was a very nice story, Australia published game. So it was very neat. I really enjoyed it. Little bois. Blah, blah, blah. So that was so that's what I did this week. And I'm still playing Fire Emblem because that game's long as hell.
Nice.
Oh, which Fire Emblem?
3 houses.
Nice.
Because I just got past the time jump. So now it's like, I was like, oh, there can't be much more of this game. And I'm like, oh, this is part 2. So there's a lot more of this game. So anyway, that's what I've been playing. Fee, what have you been playing this week?
Shoot. I haven't really been playing much, to be honest.
Let-
Just a
let me
bit
help
of
you.
League.
Let me help you. You want to talk about Crowfall?
Oh, yeah. We played Crowfall, and that was bad. Like, I can't even sugarcoat it, you know? It's just, I feel like that game, they just rushed it, and they try to add too many cool things without really solidifying basic gameplay.
This was the one that was like a crowd-funded, sort of like supposed to be a World of Warcraft, but like more PvP or kind of MMO, right?
Yeah, it was kickstarted.
Thank you. Yeah,
and
It's insane.
It had potential though.
Like
Yeah.
the art is incredible, but again, it will always be incredible because it's been done by Dave Greco, who's also done art for World of Warcraft and things like that. But they have like 12 or 14 races or something like that. Now,
oh my gosh.
yeah, it's crazy.
That's a lot.
It's insane. Like if you cut down to half, let's say 6 races, imagine how much more resources you can put into solidifying gameplay and etc.
So what is this game? Explain it to me.
Crowfall is a new MMORPG that features, like I said, like 12 or 14 races, and it's supposed to be similar to World of Warcraft. Big into like the PvP. I think there's supposed to be like siege versus siege, huge groups versus huge groups, things like that.
Gotcha.
Like, so it had like an $800,000 goal on Kickstarter, and it over doubled it. But the things we talked about, like it suffered from, like it had so many good pieces, but they just didn't all come together really well, and the questing felt clunky and weird. But the parts of it were so good, and I could see how in Kickstarter, if you're looking at this game and you're looking at those parts and pieces, how good this game looked and how amped I would have been to play it. But I just don't think the full product's there, which is sad.
Do you think that it's going to be able to be like worked on and put together to be actually something good someday, or do you think it's just going to fold?
I think it's going to fold.
You think it's going to pull a Magic Legends?
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Considering that this is a Kickstarter game, right? And then 2, it's the gameplay is just so weak compared to every other game. Even games that have released 10 years ago perform better gameplay wise. So that's something that you have to look at in the alpha stage of the game. You have to rewind, go back, ignore all of your maps and things like that, extra things, and work on just basic combat. So
it was, and this game is like heavy PvP. Like that's really its focus. And if the players aren't there, the PvP isn't there. So I think it all falls apart. And I think they've lost their initial like hype because it just wasn't really where it needs to be. So I don't know how you come back from it with something like this where it's a Kickstarter and all the hype is launch. And when it fizzles at launch, I think it's very hard to kind of regain that juice, even if they resolve some of the issues.
Right. I mean, and then especially around this time when you have, the new World of Warcraft expansion that just released, right? Shadowlands, and then you have Endwalker for Final Fantasy coming out real soon. And then you have, more titles coming from Korea, like Lost Ark, Elion.
Oh, yeah.
And all these other games that have been doing exceptionally well. If I'm not mistaken, Lost Ark is number 1 in Korea right now. And that's coming to global in a few months. So
nice, very good. And Allison, you played that too, right? Nice, great. I'm gonna go over to Chris because I'm interested. I think you mentioned it on the last podcast, but Chris, you did a Warhammer.
Yeah, so
tournament?
I traveled about 2 hours south to Fredericksburg this past weekend to play in a Warhammer 40K tournament. So it was my first big tournament. It was a grand tournament. It was quite grand. So there was about, I think, at least 50 people there. And it was 5 games over 2 days. So just got back a couple hours ago, but it was really cool, and it was a lot more competitive than the first tournament I did. It was a larger point total, so it was bigger armies too. So there was a lot of learning for me there, I think. I went 2-3, so not great, but it's about what I expected to do, I think.
Yeah, cool.
So overall a lot of fun. I would say the majority of the people there were super nice and, willing to work with a lot of people to, make sure everyone's having fun.
That's great. That's good. It seems like that's a really good community.
It is. But because of that, the past 2, one of the things you do to get like 10 points out of 100 for each game is making sure that your entire army's painted and has stuff on their base and, it looks in a decent condition. So I've been spending the past 2 weeks like getting a bunch of stuff ready because I wanted to have it ready for the tournament. So I was building like
That's
half of my army
interesting.
basically
That's
and
super
painting
fun.
it over the past 2 weeks, and it was kind of a grind.
That's cool that they kind of force you to prioritize. Like, no, we want like part of the enjoyment of this game is the aesthetic of the armies that are on the board. So
I
like,
mean, it's
bring
at
your
least
best.
half of the hobby. Like if you don't really enjoy that, I mean, people
That's true.
pay to get their armies done for them, but I mean, I don't know. To me, it's less personal if you don't like paint your own army because it's like you're putting that
Sure.
into it.
Yeah, if your chunky armor boys don't look like
That's
your
right.
chunky armor boys, then
That's right. And
what's the
actually, there
point?
was like a competition for painting too.
nice.
Oh, cool.
But that's so cool that, all of this came from Warhammer. You have people who can get paid to paint, and there's competitions for it from a game that I guess where that wasn't the main focus.
Yeah, and actually, there's people
that's
that
really cool.
make their living off like doing games on YouTube or like showing how to paint
Yeah.
stuff on YouTube and doing custom armies for people. And there's a whole industry that's now built around it that wasn't there, I feel like, 15 years ago when I started.
Very neat. Very neat. Ian,
Yes.
what have you been up to this week?
So I was on vacation this past week with Marianne and her family, and so it was much more like family time oriented, which is great because you get to play, sort of like big fun couch co-op games. So we played Heave Ho,
I love
Oh,
Heave
that's
Ho
fun.
so much.
which I don't know if anybody else has played it or if have we talked about it before?
No?
I don't think so.
Is this like a...
I
Is
don't
this like a...
think so.
So this is it's a couch co-op game. I played it on Switch and I also got the Steam version. But basically the whole thing with the game is you're like a head with two arms attached to it and you have hands. And your job is to use your hands to like grab onto the people next to you and like form little chains with them and swing yourself across to obstacles. So it's sort of like a party game that's like part hilarity and part strategy and part teamwork. Very silly, but also like kind of strategic and challenging if you're playing it in the right group of people with the right circumstance. So would strongly recommend as a party sort of couch co-op experience. And the like remote connect for Steam, where you can like, I own this game on Steam and I can invite Fee and Allison and Dan to come play it with me just through the internet, and they don't have to buy the game because it's a couch co-op game that Steam has integrated into their platform. So you literally just get a link and then you're like playing on my virtual game, which is really neat, and it worked great.
That's
and I
really
did it with 4
cool.
people. It was awesome. Yeah, it was really
That's
cool.
really cool. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that on the last episode. So that's very neat. I have played Heave Ho. It's very fun. Even with 2 people, it's fun to just do. Hannah and I have played a little bit of that as well.
Nice.
So speaking of Heave Ho, I'm going to throw us into the next section
Nice.
here.
Ew.
That was an Ian level segue. I love it.
I'm proud.
Thank you. I do my best. So the next section, we're going to talk a little bit about the different types of skill-based matchmaking or matchmaking things that are there. And this came up because Fee and Allison, you were discussing something that I'm not exactly sure what the conversation was, but something EOMM came up.
Who is EOM and why do I care?
So EOMM is engagement optimized matchmaking versus SBMM, so skill based matchmaking. And this is how game companies pair you up with your team and your opponents when you're playing in a competitive setting. So ranked, in Apex, Warzone, League, etc. EA has a patent for it, and a lot of games have kind of done the same thing, even though they say that they didn't. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because everybody thinks these matches are just fair and and random to an extent, but with your skill level of players.
Right.
But
it's different. The engagement, what's the O?
optimized.
Engagement optimized matchmaking. I hate that matchmaking is 2 words. Does anybody else hate that?
Yeah, it's bad.
Like it's matchmaking. It's 1. It should be EOM. But it is based on. It has nothing to do with your skill level so much as it's based in ways to make you keep playing the game versus what we think things are,
Right.
which is skill-based matchmaking. It was like, I'm going to play with people who are the same skill level as me.
Right.
Yeah, so the assumption of skill-based matchmaking being like, we all would say like, oh, it would be most fun to play with people of the same skill, so it's fair. The and I'm putting this in heavy air quotes, innovation of engagement optimized matchmaking being the companies saying like, actually, we really think that the best thing for you to do is for us to make this game as engaging for you as possible, which means you stay playing it and possibly also microtransactions while you're playing it, irregardless of, or disirregardless of, or
you could just say regardless of.
Disirregardless.
That's just like a triple negative.
The skill level of the players involved, even though like oftentimes there's actually sort of like a layered approach, right? So you have like an engagement optimized
Matchmaking
system that's also working inside of like a skill based.
Yeah, for sure. So there was a few people who did a report on this from UCLA, and it shows that if you were to win 3 games in a row, chances of you coming back to play again is 3.7%. While if you lose 3 games in a row, right, being a seasoned player, if you lose 3 games in a row, you have a 5.1% chance of coming back to play. Now,
that's interesting,
right? And this causes, because you're frustrated,
you can't end on a bad
right?
note.
You're like, exactly. You can never end on a bad note. And then the 3 losses just frustrates you because you feel like you can do better and you need to climb, right, in order to get into the big leagues. So it keeps you hooked, which is kind of interesting. And by no means
he's
am
gonna
I
brag
bragging
right now.
or anything,
Just ready for it.
But I played
Humble brag. Go on.
Incoming.
not at all. I
my
played
gosh.
Heroes of the Storm, and I got diamond in 10 games.
How'd you do that?
How do you do that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I just played through my whatchamacallit.
Ranking
Placements?
games.
Yeah, the seeding where they place
Placements?
you.
Yeah.
So they placed me in like gold or plat or something. I don't know. And then I played, I think, the 10 games after that, which put me in a diamond. And then I quit the game.
Right, because you just kept winning.
I wasn't engaged.
So you were like,
anymore.
"This is boring.
I'm too good for these clowns. I gotta
I'm
go back to a real game like League of Legends.
Certainly not too good, but I definitely stopped. I mean, the game by itself is simpler than a lot of other games. It's definitely way more casual, you know.
And
so
filthy.
I used to play with friends.
Filthy.
But playing with friends and stuff is always a good time because friends. But in terms of like competitive format, I just didn't really enjoy it. So, but getting into League, it's pretty awful. Like when you're at a low LP, so like low points, right? So let's say you're gold 3 at 10 points, 10 LP, right? And you're trying to climb the ladder. I feel like they toss good teams or decent teams at you, right? You're like, hey, this is pretty cool. And then you climb, and then when you're on the cusp of getting that promotion, a gold 2, your team is just volatile. Like you get the worst. Even if you play your best, it just doesn't matter if everybody else hard loses or intentionally sabotages the game. And with the games that we played here, there's a site that we'd go to is NAOPGG, right, where we can look up the stats of everybody on our team and everybody on their team,
right,
win rate on their champions and etc. And it gradually got worse as we climbed up.
And I would like to note that most of the time I was correct on exactly how those games were going to go before we even played them because it's that obvious.
I actually don't understand that. Can you clarify what you mean?
There's a website that you can go to where you can see who you're match made against, and you can see it like in the lobby when you're loading in. So you just look up your game, and then it tells you how many games other people have played on the champion they're on, their win loss, their overall win loss, what they're good at, what they're poor at, and the people that are on your team or on the other team, the difference in the quality of teammates and the quality of opponents is like dramatic. Like these people shouldn't be paired together.
So is that a function of engagement optimized matchmaking somehow? Is that the argument we're making?
Yeah,
here?
because these are people who under SBMM have no business playing together.
Right, because they'd be too good. Which is ironic because,
imbalanced, really. Like, one of the teams is, really stacked, and the other team is really
I feel like
just bad.
I feel like we've hit that when we've played like Overwatch before.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, well, I was just trying to say that it's interesting because I think about that. So it's almost like with EOMM, it's using you as the fodder for the people who are like the really good ones. It's like, oh, they've lost some, so we're gonna kick these low people in.
It's the same.
To be,
yeah.
It's like oh, why would you?
Same against each other. The people that they want to have a win are against you, and when they want you to have your loss, they put those really great players against you who have had a couple bad games.
Right. And it's weird too, because again, right, people are gonna have bad games, and I understand it, but you're gonna get those teammates where they just go in and just intentionally sabotage your game. You know what I mean? And this chances are it's not their first time doing something like this. You know what I mean? And it's not like the developers don't have a record of this person who runs it down every 2 weeks or something like that,
or has had a streak of losses and are flaming and those things.
Right.
I have like just a couple of questions in terms of like, I think that the trouble with that kind of like personal analysis of the matchmaking is like, you don't know, or it's really hard to tell from the outside whether that's the matchmaking doing that, or if people are smurfing accounts. I feel like that's also super common, especially in free-to-play games like League, where someone can just go make a smurf account, and then whatever it ends up being, and they're purposely trying to keep their skill level low, or they'll log on and, lose a bunch of matches in a row on purpose, like throw a bunch of games in a row on purpose so that they can play the one game and beat up on people. I had a bunch of, I know people who play Warzone and do that. They'll log on for 20 minutes and just take headers and just dive into the ground and die on purpose for 20 minutes and then play games afterwards so they're in easier lobbies, right?
Right.
We've had the opposite with the Mongoose Omelet boys, where we like win 2 in a row and then we're like, okay, we're gonna lose now. Like, as soon as we like win one, we're like, great for us, woohoo. We win a second one and we're like, well, crap, now we're gonna lose because it's gonna put us with like the really good people, so that we lose more now.
Exactly. And it's awful. Like, there's, again, when coming back to League, when you're at low LP, they don't want you to demote, so they want to give you that, what is it? What's that word? Thirsty, I guess? They give you false
hunger.
Hope. You know what I mean?
Gives you
maybe
thirst.
And they're like, hey, here's here's some decent teams. You can climb, you can do this. And then when you get up there, you get your one of your teammates is a 0% win rate on like Yasuo, like one of the most difficult champions to handle, and he's 10 games deep, 0 wins, and he's your mid laner. You know what I mean?
Right. Which is someone who's either inting, like Ian said, or they're just genuinely not a good player.
Or they're me, whenever I try playing League of Legends these days.
If I could play devil's advocate for just a minute, I wonder if there is an argument to be made for like mixed skill levels, not necessarily in League, actually. League is particularly like vicious about this kind of thing, where one bad player is just like, okay, well then we don't have a team. But something like, if you think about something like a Fortnite, where a lot of times there are a lot of mixed skill level people in the same lobby, and that kind of being something that can be fun, because like, yeah, I'm not the best in there, but I'm also not the worst. There's a lot of other people in there who aren't playing as good as me. So sometimes they get me because they've got, better guns, and it's sort of like more random and sort of mixed up. Whereas in like an ultra competitive game in like League, maybe it doesn't make so much sense.
So I hear you. And there are games that I expect that in, and I'm fine with that in. What I'm not okay with is the fact that this is called engagement optimized matchmaking, and the company has made it to intentionally feed everyone's like carnal. I don't know, not carnal, but like
Chris looks disturbed by
not
your
that
use of the
word. Sorry. Like caveman-y need to like win.
It's that dopamine hit.
To win versus the thirst to prove yourself versus like it's feeding off of those like it's literally like manipulation. It's manipulation from a company of their people intentionally, but not disclosing it. Like if I was coming into these games knowing that's how they're doing it and they disclose that very openly, then okay, I'm expecting it and I can choose whether I play or not. But I'm not going to lie, until like we were having this conversation, I thought League was skill-based matchmaking purely. However, I saw a pattern when we were playing, like a definite pattern of the people we were getting paired with. And I would always say it. I'd be like, this is supposed to be our lost game. And I just didn't know why it was happening.
Right.
It's just looking at the stats of everyone, there it was. And then he said this, and I'm like, shit. Like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So the fact that it was there, nobody will openly say, this is a thing we're doing, and the companies have researched it and there's like papers proving it and it's out there, but none of them will say this is what we're doing to force you to feel this way about playing our game. I think that's shitty, and I don't think a lot of people know about this.
Actually, this
Chris, go ahead.
This patent has been around since 2014 that I found, I think. So it's been around for a little while. And with that being said, like I don't know, like I can see why it's kind of shitty, but at the same time, like they're also allowing you to play. Oh, I guess it's not technically free, but you're being allowed to play on servers for free, so it's their prerogative to like make money.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, Allison, in terms of like that's fine if you're going to like put this system in place that's basically designed to like manipulate me into continuing to play this game. But I want to know about it because like the engagement optimization isn't just like, oh, you got your 2 wins, so this is your last game now. It's also like, okay, well, what kind of skins does Allison like? Oh, Allison, what kind of skins do you like? Like, what do you buy when you buy skins for League?
Oh, the pretty colorful ones, mostly.
Yeah, okay.
Or the really dark, brooding, gothy girls. Those are the ones.
Okay, so Alice, it's going to pair Allison with other players who use super broody goth girls and also super colorful stuff so that she sees those skins, and the idea is that she either wants to buy them or continue to play so that she can get those skins. It's also going to measure things like how long you play when you get on. Do you quit after a loss? Right. Do you quit after a win? Yep. Are there certain times of day that you play? Like all of these things are built into the different kinds of EOMMs, and they're used to extend your playtime. So it does seem like a little bit backhanded, but I also think it's like, where do you draw the line between that and like also like these games are revenue generators?
Right. I get that I'm
but
the
we've
product.
known that,
yeah,
right?
I'm
like
the
we've
product.
known that.
I know that. I want to know when it affects the outcome of my gameplay. I want to know what I'm investing my time in, and if it's not clear, it's shitty. I don't know how better to say it. Like it's just
yeah.
So I think that there's a reason why there are normal games and ranked games, right? For EOMM, it's to keep you engaged, right? It's to keep you interested, coming back, etc., right? And that should be heavily, I think, implemented in normal games.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Where you can casually play,
sure.
right? Where even if you lose, you're like, hey, whatever, I still had a good time with my buds. You know what I mean? Sure. For ranked games, however, it should be strictly skill-based matchmaking because, you know, like Allison said, especially if you're like hiding it, right? That's just messed up. You are preventing players from growing in your game, from learning,
from understanding it. There's my frustration. Right. You've got a point.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting in this area and you think you've plateaued the entire time, but you haven't. You just gave up because the system was designed was to keep you in place there. And again, this comes. This is, I feel like, a direct attack to support players and tank players who don't play carry champions or characters or whatever, right? To win the game.
So we rely on our team.
Right.
So you could be like a really good tank, but you get thrown into so many matches with other losing players because you don't do as much damage or get as many kills or any of that kind of stuff.
The objective of the game is to destroy your opponent, right? But a tank doesn't do damage. A support there are supports that do damage, but they don't really siege. They don't really crush towers, right? So when you're put into this environment, let's say you're put into the quote unquote losers queue, right? And you're playing support. Who are you supporting to win at that point? Right. Same thing with playing tanks. When you engage for your team, even if you do well as a tank, let's say you got 3 kills up top, you're ahead, but you just lose the game because you have no carries on your team. You were designed to lose. That's wrong.
It's very tough. I do want to put out one thing. Valorant, which I don't play. Does anyone play Valorant?
There are people, not us.
There are people, not us, but there are people who play Valorant, and Valorant has a different type of thing. It's not called EOMM because that's copyrighted. Theirs is called MMR, which is matchmaking rating, which is different from what your rank rating is, because basically your MMR is something that pushes you up and down this big ladder versus like your win-loss ratio. So like you move up. Yeah, it pushes someone else down, but they don't call it that because that's not what it is, because they don't have a copyright on it. Versus what your rank rating is, which is what you actually see, which is what you say, oh, this is up and down. So, and it changes based on what type of things you play, whether it's you're playing casual games or if you're playing like ranked games in there. And there are a lot of differences between, playing things as a casual gamer or playing somebody who is looking to move up and down the ranks. But we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to take a little break. And then whenever we come back in the second half, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with like all the competitive games and why are they so competitive, huh?
Why they got to be so competitive?
Huh? Why they gotta do it? Stick with us. We'll be right back.
They're Stardew Valley.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Stardew. It's just a different game.
Rocket League 2.
Boo!
Hello and welcome back to the second half of the Game Brew podcast. I'm your beautiful host, Dan Rotz, and I'm here with the rest of the Game Brew crew. How's everybody doing so far? Are you okay? You all right?
Not as beautiful as you, Dan, clearly.
You're damn right.
Not as beautiful as Vin Diesel playing with Street Shark toys.
How could you be?
How could you be? Is he also saying, I want to play with Street Sharks?
What?
Because that's what he sounds like.
What? That's not how Vin Diesel
I've never
sounds
heard
at
Vin
all.
Diesel talk
It's
like
about family.
Right, who is that? What Vin Diesel?
That's the normal Vin Diesel.
No.
It's about family.
That's like Forrest Gump tries to do a Vin Diesel. It's very weird, and I don't know what to do with that.
I wouldn't want to watch that movie.
Oh my
Definitely
gosh.
not.
Okay. Let's get back on topic.
Yeah, speaking of Vin Diesel, how's the beers, everybody?
So I did try adding lime juice, but I don't know. Whenever I use like the not fresh lime, like when it's like the lime in a bottle,
I
it
know.
just doesn't do it.
It's different. Because I did the same thing, and it's not the same. I think it's the rinds, like it's the little like chunks of lime that just float in the beer.
That's the best part.
The pulp. Yes. I don't like pulp-free beer. I like my beer with lots of
Dan,
pulp
what's your
in it.
favorite
Doesn't that limit the
Tarantino
chuggability?
movie?
Lime pulp.
I'm going to have to say Inglourious Bastards.
The answer we were looking for was
move
Pulp
on.
Fiction. Pulp Fiction, everyone.
Wow.
It's a stranger than Pulp Fiction. Fee, how's your summery beer doing?
It's great. I'm on my second one. Loved by the Sun.
Nice.
I love it very much.
All right, do you feel loved by the sun?
Not recently. It's too fucking hot.
He's usually
Loved by the moon.
I'm definitely a night
yes.
person.
Fighting evil by moonlight. That's Fee for you.
and Dan. We have pictures.
That is true. And Allison, how's the bevs?
Oh, it's good. It's my staple. Like if anybody watches my podcast. This is my podcast. If
You can
anyone,
listen to a podcast. I don't know how you'd watch
if
a
anyone
podcast.
watches my stream, they know the joke about Baja Blast and me. So like, this is just a staple drink for me. It's a good time all the time.
Yeah, if you cut Allison, she bleeds blue.
We do.
Dotton,
It's
D
true.
Dotton.
Well, it's more of like a bluish green.
That's just my hair.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, moving into our second topic, you know how sometimes you log into Fortnite or like Counter-Strike
No.
or something like, or League, and you're just like, you know what? Maybe I'll see what it's like over in the ranked games. I'll go ahead and click into that, and then you play for maybe 5 minutes, immediately get your ass handed to you, and then say, never mind, I'm going to go back to the regular one. We're going to talk about that.
Sort of.
Kinda.
Kinda.
Well, that's my experience with it. So there's a lot of games out there that have competitive modes and like ranking systems and all that kind of stuff. And we've been talking a lot in the first half. We talked a lot about League of Legends. And kind of, Allison, during the break, you kind of said that you approached that conversation as more of like a ranked person, not as more of like a normal player.
Right.
So if you were like, or like someone who plays in like the casual realm.
In the filth.
So what... Yeah, like filthy casuals, just like us. So what would you say, like as a casual, would you say that you enjoy playing ranked a lot or you enjoy playing casual more? What's your enjoyment level there?
Well, I really only play ranked. If I'm doing ranked by myself, I do one a day max.
Okay.
Win or loss, I don't care. It's like one and I'm done. Because it is a very like high stress experience and it's a very different play than if I'm playing normals. And I can knock out a bunch of normals with friends and have a good time and really enjoy it. Or just try new champions in normals. You know, like when I'm playing normals, I'm not playing seriously. It's for fun. Purely for fun. But when I'm playing ranked, like I'm playing to be better and to skill up and to test myself against people of what I hope is my own skill level. So yeah, it's very, very different kinds of play styles. And I enjoy ranked and I enjoy normal, but for different reasons, I guess, if that answers your question.
No, it does. It does answer my question that you have different reasons that you do them. Chris, you don't play a lot of competitive sort of games, right? You play mostly, I know you do mostly 4X, or I guess you were at a big competition this weekend that was very competitive.
So,
right?
I mean, but I was in like, it was in the back area because I lost my first 2 games. So I was kind of like I was climbing up the ladder after that. So I went all the way to the bottom basically. So I was in what they called the kiddie room where in the back where like the less competitive games were. So everyone was like super cool and chill, but like it was still a competition. So it was sort of. I mean, I've also started picking up Magic the Gathering Arena again and doing it ranked in that too.
Oh, nice.
So.
Ooh, we have to play. We have to
do.
play.
Chris, I have a question for you because I know you're like the least competitive of us all when it comes to gaming, and I would say, does everyone agree? Chris, do you agree?
Oh yeah. Anytime I try and suggest playing anything that's like what's the game where like someo's betraying somebody
Right.
or where we have to not be friends.
Exactly, where we have to play
playing the game.
competitively with each other. You're
He
very
hates
against
it.
it. So I find that really fascinating, and I wanted to ask, like, so is there a reason that you really hate that? Is it just that you hate it with friends? Do you hate competitive play in general? Do you like this tournament style in person competitive but not online? Like where do you fall here?
So I definitely prefer competitive in person so I can look and see the fear in my enemy's eyes.
Wow.
Or
Were you
they
also
can see
wearing
the fear
your
in
like
yours.
horn town? You were doing that too?
I really like in-person competitive because I don't know, it feels better to me. I don't know what to tell you. Like I don't really like
No, I'm just
doing
curious.
competitive stuff online because people just are jerks. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm getting into, competitive Warhammer, because generally people aren't jerks in that. And like even if someone beats you, they'll tell you like, here's what I think you did wrong. Here's how you could have done better. And so I don't know, it's kind of cool and it's nice.
They're not hiding behind the internet,
exactly.
per se. I think I get flack a lot from my Call of Duty team Mongoose Omelet, because I usually play and they're like, all right, we're gonna get these wins, and I'm like, I literally don't care if we win or lose. I just wanna shoot some boys, you know, and like in video game boys, I want to make that very clear. But
no one clip that out and use it against him.
No one use that in the future. But it's like, I'm there to have fun, so I'm gonna be goofing around and like doing stupid stuff just because I think it's fun. And then they're going real hard on like trying to win stuff. And so like for me, I'm like, I avoid the ranked stuff so much. Like anytime I see that little box where it's like, hey, you could play the competitive mode in Fortnite. The other day I was like, maybe I'll try the competitive mode. And then I immediately was like, nah, I'm just going to go back to the regular one. I don't care. I don't care that much. And it's like, I just want to have fun. That's why it's a game. I just want to go in and have fun. I don't want to be super stressed out while I'm doing it.
I will say, like, playing a team-based game together is fun. So, like, if you have, like, a 5 top playing league,
competitive,
or if you have, like, you know, a full squad for Overwatch, then you have... It's a lot more fun to me than just, like, queuing up normally by yourself. That's, to me, that's no fun whatsoever.
Okay.
How much is that a function of, like, in those games, they're designed to be a team game?
Yeah.
Versus, like, you can't queue up and play solo Overwatch. You
can. It just sucks.
Versus, well, you can't. That's what I'm saying, though. But like a 6-top that's all comprised of individual players against a 6-top that's, you know, talking to each other is going to be, you know,
a bad
contest
time.
thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too. I kind of feel like I am sitting on the fence on that particular thing with Rocket League in particular, because I love playing ranked Rocket League. Like,
yeah, you do.
I love playing ranked.
What's your rank now?
The season just turned over, so I actually don't have a rank in my primary mode, which is doubles. But I ended last season in Diamond 2.
Nice.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about that. But anyway, the thing is, I play a lot with a couple of people who are really concerned about winning. And I am too. Like, I like to see my rank increase. But I also try to keep it in perspective of like, yes, I'm playing a competitive game competitively, but also I'm playing a game. And if I'm not having fun doing it...
If you ain't first, you're last.
Want to. No, like you just... The thing is, I can't bring that mindset into Rocket League with me, because what that means is then that I have to be better than everybody. And when I look at all of the people who are better at Rocket League than me, it's so many people that I'm like, it's fine. Like, okay, I don't care anymore.
And they do some crazy stuff, right? In Rocket League, they're like flying through the air, doing crazy flips and like angling balls down over
they hit it
people's
off the wall,
faces,
up to the ceiling, hit the ball on the ceiling, double jump off the ceiling, and then air dribble it into your goal. And you're sitting there like, well, I don't need to spend the time in my life to learn how to do that, so I'm not going to beat that guy.
That's actually the reason why I quit StarCraft 2.
Really?
Yeah, so StarCraft 2, when it released Wings of Liberty, I got heavily into it. And I think I climbed to like Diamond 2 or 1 or something like that for North America. And I just remember being how stressed I was when I was off by like 3 seconds.
Right.
You know, I forgot to build Hydras here, 3 seconds off. And, you know, or I didn't scout over here 3 seconds ago. Right. And that ruined everything. You know what I mean? And I'm glad I was able to put the game down because college.
Didn't you say you were like eating cereal thinking about your game and your play or something?
Yeah, it was like, oh, dude, it was 24/7 StarCraft. Like, I would look up all the videos for all the strategies for all the races. You know what I mean? Like prime locations to build, when to do this, etc. And you know, had to learn the keyboard shortcuts, especially from playing Zerg. You know, I had to bounce back to my hatchery and the mother and things like that. So, like, it was a lot. You know, I'd be eating breakfast, looking up, you know, pro games for like Box playing Terran against Zerg. You know, things like that. But yeah, it was definitely a good lesson. You know, putting fun first before anything else.
You know, I was doing some research. I was looking up some numbers and figures and stuff just because I like doing that. I like to see who thinks what whenever they make surveys. And they did a survey in 2019 that said about 56% of gamers, again, in quotes because I hate that word, say that they are casual gamers. Like and I think like the novice gamers are only like 11%, and then the people who consider themselves pros is like 1 or like 0.2% or something like that.
What is the rest? There's like 30% left in there.
There was like, they grouped it into like male and female, but I'm gonna generalize so that it's kind of both. So I could do the math. I don't want to. 56-ish casual gamer, novice gamer, so somebody who's probably like considers himself really good and will like play to have a good time. That's probably about 22%. People who consider themselves expert gamers, which this one, it's like 23.2% of males consider themselves expert gamers in this survey done in 2019. But in general, between everybody, it's probably like 18%. And then aspiring professionals are like 3%.
Would you consider
like
your guys' selves expert gamers?
Not even a little bit. I would put myself in the low novice area if I were being generous. I'm probably more of a casual
Is novice
gamer
above casual
when it comes to like competitive? Yes.
But here's the thing. I consider myself more than a casual gamer with most of the things I do. So I don't think I'm an expert, but I'm definitely not a casual.
Yeah, same.
So like a novice is then that you would put. I think that's why that category exists. Then a casual gamer?
Novice would be like, I pick up a game once every month. That's a novice.
Oh,
and then
casual, I read this chart wrong.
Would be like middle ground, and then an expert is going to be like, yeah, I'm pretty great at this.
So then it would be like a high casual.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, I'm an extra casual.
You're semi-casual.
You're business casual.
Black ties casual. Yes.
I'm business casual, cat. Leave me alone.
Yes, I've got my khakis and polo shirt on today because we're business casual.
I think it's interesting to think about the question of like whether or not competitive gaming is like waxing or waning, because in the past couple months I feel like it's taken like competitive gaming, a lot of that sort of like infrastructure was built around a lot of the Blizzard stuff, right? Like there was a big competitive scene in Overwatch, and they were pushing the Overwatch League really hard and the development of Overwatch 2, and the same thing with Hearthstone. Like Hearthstone is a really competitive card battler.
Yeah.
And in the fallout from the lawsuits, like they lost a lot of support and a lot of goodwill, and that has since caused a lot of things to be either rumored to be delayed or actually delayed. I think like the Overwatch competitive series is sort of taking a step back and sort of counting its cards. And also shout out to all the people in our Discord who heard us yelling about Blizzard stuff and uninstalled your shit. Like, good on you.
You guys are so cool.
Yeah.
Like we didn't ask for that. But it's good to know we have people who are like-minded and want to stand with something. That's very cool.
So, yeah, shout out to Caesar and I think
I believe it's
Rob,
Caesar.
I think Caesar. Oh, sorry, Caesar.
Coffee and all the people.
Yeah, y'all
it's
are
very
the best.
Cool. But
it's interesting. Yeah,
I do think I do think that also the COVID-19 pandemic did have a little bit of an effect on that as well. Like you'd think it would make esports be bigger, but with like the craziness of stuff not being like them having arena shows, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we have to make sure everybody's equipment and broadcasting stuff is the same. I think that had to change too. Sorry, go ahead, Allison.
Well, I think if you want to argue that,
I'm just saying in addition, I didn't think that was
League, especially. I don't know about other competitive games, but like they went on ESPN because they couldn't play sports during COVID. So it kind of amped up a little bit. But the issue there is like, I feel like during quarantine, most people who considered themselves a gamer of some kind, like we discussed before, were playing things that stress them out less. Was a lot of it. So I think esports actually got a pretty big bump this is quarantining time. I don't even want to say last year, because it feels like it's been 400 years.
It does feel like forever.
I feel like that was something that actually amplified it, but I think the need for casual gaming was the thing that made normal gamers not want to jump that.
I would say that a lot of people started watching stuff more and got into like watching competitive stuff definitely during the pandemic. But also, I mean, at least for what I've been doing, I feel like there's been a lot, like an explosion of people wanting to do competitive stuff because of hobbies they might have gotten into in the pandemic. You know, for example, if you paint models and like to roll dice, I don't know. So
just crazy random example.
It's you know, it's been on my mind. But yeah, I mean, I and it could also be, you know, when you buy a red car, you only see red cars type thing that I have going on here. But it seems like there's more.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, esports way back when was so small compared to now. You know, tournaments being held now are in the millions of dollars for the prize total. Back then would be like 10,000, 40,000. I think, you know, Gears of War 2 was like 40,000 in North America for the tournament, but now you have League that's like $8 million, or no, I think it's like $5.6 million.
Oh my God.
For the like international win. You know what I mean? Which has only increased every year, if I'm not mistaken. Plus, you have people streaming all the time. You know, so like everybody's getting into that, especially during the pandemic. You get to watch, and that I guess that scene just blows up.
Not to mention 100 Thieves, which is esport like team. Like they do a bunch of different stuff. They do League. They do, I don't know, all of them. Call of Duty, all of them. They
was that a merch
partnered
like thing
with Gucci just like
with
this
Gucci?
week. Like what is that? That is
You want some really expensive 100 Thieves stuff?
Of all things, an expensive 100 Thieves Gucci backpack. And they're also like models in their clothes, and I'm like, what is this? This is so crazy that we're here now.
Well, I think that falls under the same thing as like there's all these Generation Z people who wear Supreme stuff. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people spend that much money for Supreme things.
I've seen those. What is that? I guess I'm getting old. I don't know what it means.
It's just
we need a young
brand
kid helping us with that. We have no idea. It's a
like
brand.
A cool brand. Like a sticker is like $20 or something. It's just like the whole Supreme brand is just like outrageous pricing for outrageous pricing.
Just so you can be an influencer wearing Supreme things.
Exactly.
But
so
like, could we get some
think...
like, since we're totally influencers, can we get Supreme stuff?
No,
we're not. We're not that kind of influencer. I would be remiss in not mentioning one thing that Coffee would yell at me for not
We already
mentioning.
did checkability.
No. Not that. So Coffee was talking about, and this is like the most wholesome type of competitive gaming I think I've ever seen, because I watched a little bit of it. Is the Farming Simulator Competitive League. It's Farming Simulator League, where basically they have like this very, like it's a modded out version of Farming Simulator, where they have to do things like you go out, you collect a combine harvester, and then you bring it back, and the team that gets the most wins. It's like there's 3 on each side. You have to make sure you get them all. And then like who can husk the most bales of hay out of their field in a certain amount of time period, and there's like power-ups that spawn in it. It's mainly in Europe. I think it's like a German thing. But the thing that is the most best, I'm going to say it that way,
the bestest,
is that these aren't teams like Liquid or 100 Thieves or any of that kind of stuff. They're being sponsored by like John Deere Gaming. And it's like, it's so good. It's just because it's like, and it's also like, they're like the most random people. There's like a 13-year-old kid and his dad and then some other guy. And it's just like, this is so fun that they've made something. It's like, yeah, this is the league of stuff that we do. We made this ridiculous thing that people do competitively now, which is fun.
Doesn't that just speak to humanity needing competition in everything, though? Like the most like basic non-competitive game, and somebody made it competitive. It's like competitive cornhole being so serious now. You know what I mean? Where it's like that's a thing. That's a thing.
People it's like I play that when I'm wasted. I don't want to.
That are going right. That was just like
pong.
supposed to be like a casual. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Why?
It's so funny to me. I think we do have to make a good stance, though, each of us, on where we feel we are with competitive gaming now compared to where we used to be.
Like, are we more inclined to game competitively
to-
or
Yeah.
less inclined?
Yeah. How do we feel about like right now and where we were and why we think that is?
I would say, looking back on the way I've been gaming, that I'm much more inclined to game competitively now than I have been in the past. Probably just because this has been a period of time where I've had more free time on my hands.
Could agree with that. In some ways more and in some ways less. It really depends on the game.
Fee, what about you?
I think I'll always love competitive gaming, just because I like to keep myself on my toes.
Just always competitive. That's you.
Yeah,
Allison?
But you're less than you used to be.
way less, because I'm not passionate about any particular game anymore. You know, as soon as something fun comes out, and I guess fair, I'll definitely dive deep. But yeah.
So it's like you went from like a 200% down to a 100% is basically what
Probably 50. I definitely don't play it as much as I used to. You know, there's just being held in the same spot for a long time just kind of bothers me.
Yeah, I get you. Allison?
I'm pretty much the same. I've always been a competitive person when I game, but I enjoy having fun too. So it's never been something that I like need to do, but I always want to do and enjoy doing. So I like playing Goof with friends, but I always like to push myself as much as I can to be better because I don't know, that's how I am with games.
Right, that's the same point for me. I just want to push myself as far as I can go.
Well, for me, everybody knows me. I don't care at all. I like to play casual stuff because I just don't want to spend the time trying to get better at games when I could just have fun playing them.
But you are at least passionate about playing. Like,
I love playing games. I like to be good at games. I understand I'm not good at most games, but I like puzzles, but there's never any competitive puzzle games that are out there.
I could give you some.
I'm sure there are, but I don't want to play them because then I have to fight somebody, and I don't want to do that. So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this episode. If you have competitive games that you love to play or hate to play, or if you have feelings on EOMM or ranked matchmaking, be sure to let us know by going to our Discord at bit.ly/discobrew. You can also send us tweets and Instagrams and Facebooks at The Game Brew if you do any of that stuff. Or send us an email at thegamebrew@gmail.com. I read them whenever they come in. There aren't that many. But
I just have this vision of Dan sitting at his computer like, when's gonna come soon? I know it.
Usually we get emails being like, hey, I inquired with you about 6 months ago about trying to sign up for this thing that's definitely a scam. Do you want to do it still? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And yeah,
That's it.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
So on that, I think it's time we say goodnight, everybody.
Good night,
night,
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
You're just not ingenuitive.
Ingenuitive?
Ingenuity.
Ingenious?
Is that how we would do that?
I don't know.
Ingenuitive. Is that a word?
What do you
Ingenuitive.
ingenuitive?
Ingenuitive? Is that how we do
That
it?
doesn't feel like a word.
It's probably not a word. Ingenuitive. It's like not a good word, but it's out there.
Ingenuitive. And at first I was like, ingenuitive? No, that's not it. That's not a thing.
You know, guys, you know what I'm realizing more and more every time you guys call out something I say that isn't pronounced correctly? I've learned everything I know from books.
And the podcast.